Yeah, Moxley just won the AEW title, beating Danielson last minute there, choking him out, and referee just calls for the bell there. That was pretty surprising because I was of the opinion that Danielson would be the right guy to hold the title right now, since Moxley had a pretty big run with it already, had a great summer, was set to go on vacation, replace Punk with somebody that's 10 times more respected and beloved as Punk. And Moxley fits that bill as well. I just thought now would be a good chance for Danielson. I'm surprised, but I'm certainly not upset. Moxley has been my favorite wrestler of at least the last 6 months, especially the way he took over for CM Punk when he got injured and had a better run than I think we could have even expected CM Punk to have. So that was a big positive. But yeah, Jon Moxley defeating Bryan Danielson in the main event of Grand Slam. Really good match. Moxley is now, officially a 3-time AEW champion, first guy to do that. And since he was on such a roll, there were a lot of people that felt like Moxley was the obvious winner here tonight, and that he should, the smart thing to do, since what happened at All Out really wasn't planned, is just go with the guy that was already kicking ass. Under normal circumstances, you might have not taken the belt off of Moxley in a situation like that. But Khan promised Punk, and, you're still going to be the champion when you come back. And they did the whole deal, and the fight happened and blew it all to hell. So you just pick back up, with the guy that unfortunately had to beat at the last pay-per-view, which sucks. But I can certainly understand, based on how Moxley was performing when he was champion, how durable he is and how hard he was working. Go back to him. I get it. I just thought that Danielson would be a fun choice. I thought Danielson would make the most sense because of everything I laid out, the reputation that CM Punk seems to have developed for himself and the fans' perception of what went on after All Out. I think you just need a champion at the top right now that has the utmost respect of their peers, the people they work with, and more importantly, the wrestling audience. And not only does Danielson have that, so does Jon Moxley. That's why Moxley is perfectly fine with me, but I didn't shut the hell up about it for a full week. I think it's been a week plus that I've said, Danielson's going to win. Danielson's going to win. Danielson's going to win. I was so sure about it, and this is why you can't be so sure about everything. I was wrong, but if Danielson now is angry, like it alluded to as the show was going off the air, perhaps he can chase that title. But he lost pretty much straight up there, and now he's got an 0-2 hole here to Moxley, and it feels like there's a monkey off his back to get. But I figured if they were going to put the belt on Danielson, doing it later as he chases Moxley could work, but I just thought the stars aligned better here. But that did not happen. Is Mox feeling okay? He didn't bleed. Yeah, we might want to check on Moxley. Hopefully nothing's wrong with him. It's possible that he bladed, but he ran out of blood. So when he's just cutting his skin, like nothing's coming out. So if you get a close-up shot of him laying on the mat, check his forehead. You might see some cut marks. There just might be no blood there because it's already escaped. Yeah, and Tony Khan, master of the curveball, or maybe not master of it, but a guy that likes to throw a lot of them. I thought that everything was pointing to Danielson, but that's what I talked about earlier, is that AEW hasn't been around enough where they've developed like a really specific track record. WWE, prior to the new regime, we kind of had a general idea of how they thought and how they usually like to do things and what their formula is. AEW, I dare say, hasn't been around long enough to really develop a formula yet. So when we think, they'll never do this, who's to say they won't? They might do that. And they did, putting the belt back on Jon Moxley. Hey, fine with it. Love Moxley, big Moxley fan. Match was really good. It was exciting. A couple of those near falls were incredible. Danielson kicking out of the Death Rider after he ate a stomp, the way Moxley cinched up on it. That was great stuff. It was amazing stuff. And that's when I thought my prediction was going to go up in smoke right there when he came so close to winning. I'm like, how is Danielson going to kick out of Moxley hooking both legs and cinching up the way he did? And he still kicked out anyway. Fantastic. That's when I thought for sure Danielson was going to win, but I got swerved in the end. I got worked like the mark that I am, and it was fantastic because I don't like to exactly know what's going to happen. I like to be surprised. And when you're trying to decide between, Danielson and Moxley, that's literally the definition of 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other, because they're both excellent talents and they're both world champion materials. I just would have gone with Danielson in that situation. So whatevs. We'll see what the next step is in this whole deal. If Danielson will now want a rematch or something, and when will MJF cash in that poker chip, because he sat up in the skybox there and watched the whole match go down. No threat of a cash in or whatnot. And Tony Khan did say that it's not exactly like a Money in the Bank briefcase. You can't just show up and get a championship match literally on the spot. He can choose and have a match whenever he wants, but Khan still has to sanction it. But he didn't really say how much notice he needed. Like, if MJF wanted to theoretically come out of the in the main event tonight of Dynamite and cash in his chip and say, Tony Khan, get out here, sanction it. And then Tony Khan comes out to the stage with a mic and says, okay, I sanction it. Does that count? And how exactly that's going to work into whenever MJF decides he wants to get that title match and what he's going to do. So that'll be fun to see play out. And we'll see what the relationship is now within the Blackpool Combat Club, because don't forget, Claudio lost his championship tonight as well, dropping the Ring of Honor title to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho adding another belt to his ridiculously bonkers resume. As I talked about when the match was going on, I was wondering if, they were going to maybe put the Ring of Honor title on Jericho just for a short amount of time to put that on his resume, just so he can have it in his lineage and put another chapter in his long and storied career. So that was on my mind during the match. And then sure enough, Jericho wins. I don't think this is a big deal. I already know without looking at Twitter what Twitter was saying about that. I'm sure you were hearing things like he doesn't need it and give it to somebody else and shit like that. But Ring of Honor isn't even running shows yet. I think maybe AEW and Tony Khan's holding out for a streaming deal so they can start producing Ring of Honor TV. Until then, what's wrong with putting an icon, a Hall of Famer, a guy with the name value of Chris Jericho on this promotion's title lineage? What's wrong with that? I got no problem with that. It's probably not going to be a long run. I say Jericho drops the title before the end of the year, which means in the grand scheme of things, did the Jericho title run harm anything? No, it probably actually helped, and it gave Ring of Honor some name value now. And if they do start running some shows or doing some shit, you got Chris Jericho as your world champion now. So if they are going to run a show or do another one, then Jericho can defend the belt on that show, and maybe he can lose the belt on that show. Maybe he can lose the belt on their inaugural show, or whatever the next one is, or however they're doing this. I don't know. But they could do something like that. So Jericho winning just means he's going to lose it to somebody, could just cough it right back up to Claudio, or perhaps lose the belt to somebody else. In the end, I don't think this is a bad thing at all, and I think it's kind of cool that it's another belt added to Jericho's resume, and it gives him an accolade that I don't think anybody else has. Nobody has held the WWE, Ring of Honor, and AEW titles, and technically, Jericho is a WCW champion as well, although he did win it in WWE in 2001. So he's done it all, man. And having this kind of thrown in there at the end, little cherry on top, little bonus, while he's still capable of, working somewhat in the ring, I hardly think is the worst thing in the world, and have no issues with it. And I think, like I said, by the end of the year, Jericho will no longer be Ring of Honor champion anyway, so it shouldn't matter in the long run. Don't shit your britches. Also, the Acclaimed came out of the show tonight, winning the AEW tag team titles like we knew they would. My only fear was something that I've been talking about ever since All Out, and that is the reception that they would have gotten if they would have won that night, because that match was so good. It was really rolling. Fans were into it, and you had that one specific near fall that instantly, like nothing I've ever seen in my 40 years of wrestling, turning the fans instantly on a match. Like sometimes when the fans turn, it's kind of a gradual thing or whatever. It was a millisecond when that hand came down for an almost 3, and it was a near fall that was just a little bit too close. The fans realized in that split moment that the Acclaimed won the title, and that's awesome. And it was within the same split moment that it was taken away from them, and it literally overloaded their system, and they freaked out. So the very first thing everybody was saying, hey, Arthur Ashe is right around the corner. You just do it again, and you give the Acclaim the big victory at Arthur Ashe. So we knew that was coming. My concern was that they wouldn't equal the crowd reaction or the response that they would have gotten if they won the titles at All Out, that they wouldn't equal that response here at Arthur Ashe. But I think they did, and I think they came pretty damn close. Yeah, they had to cheat to win, but don't forget, one of their opponents is Keith fucking Lee, and it's going to take an army to beat somebody like him anyway, so a little cheating is kind of necessary when your opponent is him, so I didn't really have an issue with that. And, of course, the Acclaimed got the victory. Props to them. Good for them. Great for Anthony Bowen since he was in his hometown. They got a great dynamic. They got themselves over. They did it on their own. They got over organically. That scissor me daddy ass that they fell ass backwards into, and got something that the fans can really just enjoy and get behind. And the fact that Billy Gunn is with them is, kind of fitting, because they do remind me a lot of the New Age Outlaws. Bowens is a lot like Billy Gunn, and Castor is a lot like Road Dogg in terms of their, dynamic on the team when they come out and the way they talk to the crowd as they're coming out. So eventually with Billy being with them, I wonder if maybe he turns on them down the line and realigns with his Ass Boy sons, maybe even helping the Ass Boys win the title, and then the Ass Boys are tag team champions. That might be a proud moment for Daddy Ass if his Ass Boys get their hands on gold. So I like that the Acclaim got the victory tonight. It was the right thing to do. It's probably what should have happened last month, but giving them the victory here was fun. Crowd seemed to love it. Great moment for them, and awesome. Great stuff. Can't not talk about the women's match. Of course, Pac retained his All-Atlantic title over Orange Cassidy, but in the four-way women's match that I was thinking was more of a buffer between the great Cassidy and Pac match and the main event, we had a humongous, monumental return and debut at the end of this thing. Of course, this was Toni Storm taking on Athena, Serena Deeb, and Britt Baker in a four-way for the interim title. Nobody really expected Toni Storm to drop the belt here. There was a really gnarly botch in this match involving Athena. She had both Britt Baker and Serena Deeb hoisted up on her shoulders. And I don't know if she was going to go for a fall-away slam or what she was going to do, but I think it was basically she was going to fall-away slam Serena Deeb while Britt Baker was on the back of her, but she didn't give any mind of how she was going to land. And when she came backwards, she landed on Britt, and I freaked out. I'm like, oh my God, I could immediately see the way she landed and crushed. I was worried that she crushed Britt Baker's face. I was worried about her orbital bone. I was worried about her skull. Athena came down with all her weight right on top of Britt Baker. She immediately rolled to the corner, and she got up, and you could immediately see her face was a little dark. And I was like, oh shit, she broke her nose. Blood started streaming from her face. And I think at the end of the day, she's pretty lucky to walk away from that with only a broken nose. That looked like it could have been so much worse. I don't know if she loosened some chiclets in there or not either, but it was bad. And I am surprised she was able to not only finish the match, but just embrace the injury, embrace the blood like Britt Baker can do, take the blood, rub it on her chest and her stomach, and finish the whole deal. She actually takes the pin and loses the match, but in the end, Jamie Hayter comes out and reveals that she actually is realigning with Britt Baker. I guess they've worked out all their issues. It was a big swerve. She came out there and actually started attacking Athena, and I don't know if they attacked Toni Storm while Serena kind of stood there. And then as they're attacking, the way the whole thing was set up with the heels attacking the baby faces like that, you had a feeling somebody was going to come out, some mysterious music hits, and then Saraya's name hits the Tron, and she got the pop of a lifetime. Holy shit. Man. So Paige, of course, now Saraya is back in wrestling. We had a feeling she was going to turn back up after she was officially clear from WWE contractually. It's not a huge surprise that she's turned up in AEW, but she got an enormous pop, and she was wearing the outfit that just knows the way to my heart. Pink and black. She looked great in it, and she comes out, scares away the heels, and the big question is now, what is she there to do? What is she there to do? Wrestle? Can she wrestle? If she can, I think that's going to be pretty awesome, and she's going to bring some huge star power to that roster if she is able to actually get in the ring. And from what I can understand, she's in a pretty good place in her life right now, and just happy to see her doing something that hopefully she's going to enjoy. So all the best to Saraya and Paige and fans of Paige, and happy to see her in AEW. I thought it was great. So overall, really good Grand Slam tonight. Had some surprises. Moxley is going to continue on as now a 3-time AEW champion. Acclaimed crowned as new tag team champions. Saraya has debuted in AEW, and they're currently, I believe, taping Rampage right now to air on Friday. And we got a big match lineup for Friday as well. It's a 2-hour show on Rampage. So very good Dynamite tonight. Very fun. Thank you so much for those of you who were hanging out, watching the show with us all night. It was great, and I will be back here probably with some mic drops. That's why I've kind of been jibber-jabbering after the stream here. And we got a big podcast set for Saturday and a big watch-along planned for Sunday. So thanks for joining. AEW Dynamite was fun, and can't wait to talk to y'all soon. Take care. Peace.